Hey guys, Look Likely here, welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure you guys are wondering what there is a picture of a xpower low profile fan. Well, guess what? I am teaching you guys for this vlog on how to fix them because at my work I have had several of these come in and have quite a few problems and I've had to take them apart. Luckily, I'm here to teach you guys in case you come across the same problems that I've had. I hope you guys enjoy this vlog. If you're new here, my name is Look Likely and I have high-functioning autism. Please note that this is not a business that I own, nor is the place that I work a place that I own. Part of the credit goes to the place that I work at, which is Roto-Rooter Plumbing. Thank you. For this tutorial, you will need a few tools, a Phillips head, and a tool set, as you can see in this picture. You also need a flat head as well, but we'll get to that later in the video. There are many screws on the back of the fan that you will need to take your Phillips head and screw them out. This will be a very hard job because some of them won't always stick to the screwdriver. If they don't stick through, see if you can turn the fan around and they should fall out. If not, use the screwdriver a bit more and then try again. After that, remove the top of the fan and you should see the blade and a bolt and a couple of washers that you will next need to remove in order to access the motor. Next, remove the washers using your tool set. There will be about 3 washers that you will access when you remove them. Be very careful not to lose them, as obviously you'll need them back to put back on the fan when you're done. After that, take both of your hands like you can see in this picture and gently lift the fan blade up. You might need to press on the body of the fan some in order to get the blade to come out. Next, you will accompany the motor. As you can see, there are a few washers on the motor as well that you will need to remove. Then after that, you will be able to remove the motor casing. This is where it becomes a little bit tricky. There's one more washer that is located in between the metal part of the motor in the middle, as you can kind of see right there. You'll have to remove that as well. Then comes the fun part, taking off the motor housing. Alright, so you'll need the Phillips head again, and there are a few big screws that you'll need to remove first. Then there are a few small screws that have bolts on the bottom. One of them is beneath that cord you see in the background. This can be a very hard thing to do, as you don't want to lose the bolts because they are very small. After you remove the motor housing, you will encounter the inside of the motor. In the middle of it is the bearing. You'll need to carefully push it out using a hammer and your Phillips head screwdriver. Be very careful because one wrong move and you could scratch the bearings. That can be a big issue as the bearings will no longer be fixable. This is the piece that you will want to access. As you can see in the top and the bottom, there are 2 bearings. You want to grease them both because they don't come pre-greased from the factory. Spin the bearings like how I'm doing in this video, and that will determine how much you need to grease them. Then when you're done, gently take a glove, put some grease on your finger, and rub it on both of the bearings. Let it sit for a while so the grease can soak in. You just need to use the glove and the finger and rub it all over the bearing, on both sides and in the middle. You want to be very careful not to get it on the inside, as if it gets on the wiring, it could get hot and catch on fire. That red thing you see me putting on is a small little washer that you remove from the bearing after you remove it from the motor. Next, you want to slowly put the bearings back into the motor housing or inside the middle of the motor as I'm doing in this picture. You'll also see that I'm twirling it. This is to make sure I don't need to put any more grease on there, and if I do, or if you do, simply remove it and just grease it again. Keep going until the motor is fully spinning, like in this video. Next, you want to put the motor housing back on there, which as you can see is a little bit difficult, but after a few tries you should be able to slide it back on there. Be careful not to break some of the washers, the red ones to be exact, as they are actually made out of thin plastic. Next, put the washers back on just how I have them in this photo. Again, be careful with the little red ones, as I said they are made of thin plastic. Here comes the next part. You will want to gently press the fan blade onto the metal small pole in the middle of the fan motor. This can be a bit tricky because of the pattern, but it takes at least maybe a few seconds to get the blade back on. Next, put the washers back on. First you want to start with the small round metal washer. There's also a red washer that comes before it as well. Next, put the small nut in between the washers with that little hole. You'll need your tool set to put it back on there as well. You want to stir very carefully or screw carefully, because you can easily case the nut if you do not. Next, you will want to turn the fan on before you put the top housing back on. You may wonder why, but this is to make sure also that the motor was greased and have enough grease on there, so that way you won't need to take the motor housing off or the screws, because I know that can be very time consuming. Test the fan one more time when you put the housing back on. This is because you want to test it more than once to make sure it is ready to be put back onto the shelf. Next, put the screws in the bottom of the fan back in with the Phillips head. After that, you guys will be ready to go and put it back on the shelf. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!